Who is Dr. Vincent Schitz? In this episode dedicated to the infamous Satanic memes page, we'll learn about the page's origins, the many people who have been involved in running it, how the Dr. Schitz team goes about making these satanic memes, and more. Also announcing the new merchandise store for both Satansplain and Dr. Schitz.
Well, it's not Satan worship, it's Satanism. It's embracing the life-enriching things which have traditionally been given the devil's name. Pride, lust, earthly success, rational self-interest, atheism, humor, nonconformity, science, a passion for living, being selective about whom we love. We don't see these as shameful sins, but empowering ideals. And we also recognize the psychological power and fun of symbolism and aesthetics, so we utilize Satan as mythology's most fitting mascot for what we're about.
Satansplain, Satanic Talk with Church of Satan Magister Bill M.
Magister Bill M here with Satansplain. This episode is going to be a little different from most other formats. Many of you know that besides Satansplain, I do a few other things of satanic interest, and one of them is the Facebook page, Dr. Vincent Schitz, PhD in Satanic Memes. Several months before I launched Satansplain, another podcast offered to interview me and other people involved in the Dr. Schitz page to talk about the page. And long story short, the podcaster bailed out on us and disappeared. It was just one of many incidents, though, that drove me to say, fuck it, I'm going to start my own Satanism Talk podcast. And that, of course, became Satansplain. But still, I wanted to do some kind of interview for Dr. Schitz. But rather than interview myself, which would have been weird, I decided it was best to have another person on board to handle the questions and conduct things in a discussion format, sort of like a Q&A. So Church of Satan Reverend Jared, who runs Dr. Schitz with me, had suggested Reverend David Wallace to do just that. And we finally got around to doing it. So for the rest of the episode, you'll hear our talk about the Dr. Vincent Schitz page, including answers to questions we got from followers of the page. One of those questions that came up was a request for t-shirts, and I'm happy to announce that I have in fact launched a merchandise store for Satansplain. Right now, as I record this, there are only two designs available, the general Satansplain logo, and a Satansplain logo with the words, "Don't make me have to Satansplain this to you," over it. But yes, also included, per that request, and something I think is long overdue anyway, a Dr. Schitz profile picture. We have that as a Dr. Schitz merchandise item you can get on various things. And also a Satan Bear picture. Satan Bear is, of course, the mascot of my other podcast, The Devil's Mischief on Radio Free Satan. And I had to properly resize and edit these images just to get them good enough of a resolution for t-shirts and all these other things. But in any case, those should all be available now for purchase. And I think in these first couple of days, the online store that I work with is offering a 27% off discount. I don't have any control over that on how long it will go, unfortunately. I'd like to have it, go for a couple more days, but they control that anyway. So hurry and get the discount while you can. Go to store.satansplain.com. Whether you buy Satansplain merchandise or Dr. Schitz merchandise, whatever it is. The official website for Satansplain itself is, of course, still satansplain.com. But if you go to store.satansplain.com, you'll be taken to the merch store. T-shirts, stickers, mugs, lots of great stuff like that. So anyway, during this interview, you will hear me answer that question about the t-shirts saying, oh yeah, it's coming soon. Well, again, quick correction. It's already here. Store.satansplain.com. That's where you can also get the Dr. Vincent Schitz stuff. So now, let us begin the Dr. Schitz team interview.
Good evening, listeners. Welcome to a very special edition of Satansplain. I am tonight's host, Reverend Dave Wallace. I'm the host because I can read at a 5th grade level and have nothing better to do. And we are here tonight to talk specifically about Dr. Schitz satanic memes. And with me is the masterminds behind that, of course, as you know from listening to this show, Magister Bill M. and Reverend Jared Mammon. Greetings, gentlemen.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this. I thought it would be awkward if, it was just me trying to talk about the whole thing. I thought this would be a better format.
Yeah, it's great. I think that first and foremost, we need to probably start off with just if somebody came across this particular podcast, just starting off with what exactly is Dr. Schitz and how this all got started.
Well, I can go into a bit of the history. So Dr. Schitz, PhD Satanic Memes, is a satanic memes page, and it was set up originally out of, I think, the frustration of seeing so many other so-called satanic meme pages that focused like 99% of the time on Christian bashing. I dig religion bashing as much as the next Satanist, but with the meme world, there's just so much more room for creativity to make jokes, even if it's just jokes only other Satanists would get. So I did not create the Dr. Schitz page. The creator has wished to remain anonymous.
Oh, okay.
But he has gone by the pseudonym Beelzeboobs. You might see him on some of the earlier posts. And so he started the page February 1st, 2016. And I stumbled across the page, and he mentioned he was looking for admins. So I sent him a message saying, hey, I got kind of a satanic comedy resume.
Definitely.
I've been doing the devil's mischief. I wrote articles about Satanism and humor and stuff that got published as zines. And it turns out Beelzeboobs knew who I was. He was actually a fan of the devil's mischief. So I became an admin, and the two of us were creating all the content for the page. But then in 2018 or 2019, he decided he was going to quit Facebook. Can't blame him. It's kind of a cesspool.
Yeah, right.
He announced he was done. So I wanted to find somebody else, and I saw that Reverend Jared was doing memes, so he certainly understood the memes, and of course, most importantly, a Satanist. Asked him to join. Also worth mentioning is we had another content creator with us, and she joined sometime in the middle of 2019. She has since left Facebook. I'm keeping her request to remain anonymous, but we came up with another nickname, so she went by the name Mephistopheles Memes. That was it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That is a good one.
Yeah, I had originally started making memes on my own. This is prior to me joining the Church of Satan. I used them in the days when I was a bit more argumentative on Facebook, and I got tired of repeating the same things over and over, so I started making it in a meme format. And then I dropped my phone in the pool and lost everything. So I made a page on Facebook and started storing them there. I had made enough of a collection, and then at some point I had joined the COS, and Bill had seen a couple of the memes I had made about Satanism, and that's when he reached out. And the page is still there. I don't do anything with it. It really is just holding my own creation like a sort of a cloud, and really all my energy goes into Schitz as far as memes go.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, you making some of them, Jared, earlier on too. So, and of course, I think, Bill, it just kind of makes sense for anyone who's followed you to see you doing something comedic. It just is, it just fits. When it comes to creating memes, obviously you're putting a satanic viewpoint, which you can put on almost anything in life. But do you start off with maybe like a commentary you want to make, an idea, or does it come from like a picture that you see that, this could easily be made, the expression of this guy's face clearly leans to this? Or
it's different. Sometimes we see a popular meme and we just want to put a satanic spin on it. And sometimes it's really easy. Sometimes it writes itself that way. Like that meme that was going around with Bernie Sanders in a chair and with the mittens and just putting him on like random things.
Yeah.
So that was like trending really high. And we thought, okay, let's stick him in a ritual chamber.
We did that guy's profile, the mugshot with a huge neck.
Yeah.
And we made the joke about Klaatu Verata Niktu on that. So
Neck too, yes.
Yeah. But so sometimes it's like that, but usually we have some idea we want to convey, and then it's a matter of finding the right template, which I guess kind of relates to Satansplain itself, where I'm addressing a lot of topics that I see come up a lot, and it's like, it's frustrating, and I want to set the record straight, and sometimes a meme is the way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like the tool of the day.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Pretty much. And it's a time saver.
Yeah.
It's a time saver for these people. You don't want to type it over and over.
You get to the point.
Yeah.
I think also the additional power of it is that by showing a person the meme, you're also showing like, look, your question or your thought was so predictable and trite that we already have a picture ready to address it.
Excellent. As far as how much time do you spend, are some of them easier to make, or some of them, harder to make, or is it usually just come kind of?
Definitely both. All of the above. Yes.
Does it get to a point where like, I really want to make this point, and here's what I want to say, and here's the picture I want to use, but trying to figure out how to put them together sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, Jared and I talk to each other every day, and we run by things through Messenger to each other saying, what do you think of this thing I made? Or I have some idea. Let me run it by you to see what's a good idea to go for. So we bounce ideas off of each other. But yeah, some things just like are really easy to do and write themselves, like Satanic Temple memes. Like the jokes write themselves.
Yeah.
Like we're over logged, like we have
we're
like in reserve, we're backlogged
Yeah.
on Satanic Temple memes, and we don't want to keep posting all of that because first of all, there's so much more to go post about than just bash them, and second of all, it's like, are they really important? They deserve all of our time. But again, it's tough because those memes write themselves. They're the easiest. But some things are like really hard, where we might have something, we have an idea, and we kind of burn ourselves out on it for a couple days. Like, well, let's take a look at this in like a couple of weeks and revisit. There's
been a few like that stood out. The Sigil of Baphomet was probably the longest one it took for us, because what will happen is one of us will, and it could start with just the meme, it could start with the idea, it comes in different directions, and we always, no matter what, bounce the ideas off of each other. And then sometimes it is a hit, and I'll just, he'll throw me a meme and I'll say, hey, tag it, it's perfect. Other times, like in this case, I had an idea for a punchline I wanted to use for the Sigil of Baphomet, and Bill wanted to put a little bit more of an informational spin on it. And we went back and forth for probably weeks until we finally quit.
Yeah. Was this the Hebrew letters one? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And we probably went back and forth for like 2 weeks until we said, you know what, we can't find the medium ground. And we put it aside for a few more weeks, putting memes out in between. And then one day I just got a message, and Bill had what ended up being the final version. And I'm like, oh, thank God, that's it. Because I didn't want to let go of my joke, and he didn't want to let go of his point, and we just could not build the bridge together. And it took probably over a month.
That's interesting, because that kind of proves that there is an art to it, because with any kind of art, whether it's music or painting or whatever, a lot of times you know what you want to do, and you just gotta set it down and walk away for a while. When you come back, like, that's it, I got it. So
we joke every now and then about showing screenshots of how many edited versions we dumped before we made it to the final. Like Bill will send me a message, and you'll see 12 variations of, maybe we tweaked the color, maybe we changed the font size a little bit, and maybe we did this, and maybe, and you, to the outside eye, you wouldn't even see much of a difference, but he and I are looking at it like, oh, the lining on that one's a little thick, or could you move the shadow a little bit? And that's just how it goes.
Yeah, and just the comedic writing of it too. It's like, how do we word this exactly? It's like, maybe change this word to this word instead. Like, oh yeah, that's better. And or we'll look at it. And
it's like, we try to rebut our own memes.
Yeah,
gotta have that comedic timing to it, right?
Yeah, and just to sort of relate this also back to Satanism, I know with Satanism, and a lot of Satanists feel, because it's a very individualistic religion, it's great to be the one-man show, to do everything on your own, but I think sometimes, especially with comedy, you gotta bounce some ideas off of somebody, because it can be easy to fall for something that is like really hilarious in your head, but then might not really translate well, and you want to make sure, all right, there's at least one other person get what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
Yeah. With it just being the two of us, every now and then we want to make sure that if like he bounces an idea off me, if I don't get it because I don't get the reference, doesn't mean that others won't. Like maybe I didn't see that
Right,
movie,
right,
or maybe I
exactly.
didn't read that magazine, but maybe it would have been funny if I did get it. And so it's,
Which kind of, led me to thinking, how often does it happen where one of you has an idea, you send it to the other one's like, it's not that funny.
That happens.
Yeah.
But we still try to work with it. Because sometimes we'll be working on something for a long time and then finally realize, like, trying to reword it. And it's like, well, maybe like the template is wrong. Like maybe we shouldn't be using the Willy Wonka meme for this. We should be using something else. And like, okay, then it like falls into place.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that definitely happens because, like you said, if the joke is in our head and then we put it out there, we bounce it off the other one. We're like, I'm not sure, but we're never like, oh, that's stupid, or we don't, bash it.
Yeah, of course.
We just kind of like, I'm not sure that's the right template, or I'm not sure. Let's change this wording, and then what'll end up happening is we'll change one wording, and it'll change the entire direction of the meme. Sometimes what the meme we started with isn't even remotely close to what we finished.
Yeah, of course. I think it's commonplace for anybody with comedic sensibility to occasionally they're on the right track, but just the way they said it, the way the word is just maybe if you found your way around it, it would have been better. With pretty good following on both Facebook and Instagram, you get a lot of people, of course, reacting to it. Can you predict when a meme is going to be the hot topic, or if it's going to be just the most popular one, or?
I don't know. Because I've been wrong about that so many times. Like, we'll work on something for like a week. Like, oh yeah, this is brilliant. We'll put it out and it gets like 30 likes. But then we'll try like some throwaway thing. Like, this is like a cheap kind of Christian bashing joke, but what the hell, we'll post it anyway. And then like that will get 1,000 shares. So
yeah, and we are wrong on that so many more times that we joke about it. Like, we've jokingly said that the more effort we put into it, the less reaction it's going to get. and then just to be wrong again, it'll do great, but it'll only do great when we say it's going to do horrible. And and it's not like it's a topic that we can pinpoint, because sometimes the Christian bashing it'll fly off the pages. I mean, just be shared a bunch of times, and then another one we do will just barely get any attention at all. So in all these years, we have not zeroed in on how to tell which ones are going to do what.
Interesting.
I mean, usually the Christian bashing stuff like is a little like more popular, but again, like going with the original theme of the Dr. Schitz page, like we don't want to do just the religion bashing stuff. We want to do something different. We want to do jokes for other Satanists.
I would have to assume that with just the title of Satanic memes, you're going to get a lot of your hot topic enthusiasts and, goth wannabes that follow that maybe, they're going to, anything that's kind of Christian bashing, they're just going to like it anyway, just because it's almost first phase-ish.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten that even with the Devil's Mischief. Like I would do like, some special where I did do some religion bashing stuff and then play something else afterwards. And somebody will say, hey, can you go back to the more satanic stuff? I'm like, well, to me, it's all satanic. I mean, comedy is inherently satanic. Anton LaVey's written about this, but there's more to satanic humor than Christian bashing. That's one thing we're kind of showing with this page.
So then are there certain topics that you guys would try to stay away from?
I can't tell you.
Like politics, we stay away from that because that's just, it's a cheap form of humor these days because you're really appealing to one collective or another, and we didn't want to jump on one political side of everything, so we've kept it pretty apolitical, and that's worked for us. I think like the closest we ever came is that famous footage of the lady who was on her knees during the Trump inauguration, who had her hands up and screaming. So we took like a still shot of that and we just wrote Slayer like underneath. And like, okay, this is our first and our last thing about the inauguration.
Sure.
That was it.
Yeah, politics is definitely one, I would say. That's probably the biggest one we try to avoid. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot that's off limits.
Yeah.
Just as long
we're forced, I was going to say we're forced by Facebook
the line. Yeah, we toe the line to make sure Facebook doesn't ban it, which we've seen happen.
Yeah, like we had some meme we were doing that showed Anton LaVey in the ritual chamber, and there were a couple of topless women. And even though it was a tiny, shrunk down version of it, the nipple on this woman was maybe like 2 pixels. It still got like flagged.
Gotta be one. Gotta be one.
Yeah.
So we had to put a little black bar on it, and okay, now Facebook will take that.
I mean, other than Instagram, I mean, there's really not tons of other options for.
Yeah, I mean, there are other places I know.
As far as getting a decent sized audience, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I know there are other ones. There's Pinterest. There used to be Tumblr and stuff. And I mean, the bottom line was it was started on Facebook.
Yeah,
and, Beelzebubs who created on Facebook, so we've kind of stuck with it and grew it from there. It was years before we even branched out to Instagram, and truthfully, like, we're kind of lazy with that. I got to admit, I don't really
totally
copy over
understand.
the Instagram stuff, but
which is
that. And the other thing is, Facebook at least allows both of us to have a profile role, like an admin role, whereas Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it would require us to share a login and things like that. So it's a lot easier on Facebook because we didn't have to make a profile that we both know the password for and both, use, anything like that. I could just be my own profile. Bill can be his, and we can each access the page and upload as if, independently of each other.
So then do you feel like you'll probably stay away from some of the other like TikTok and stuff like that? Or are you just afraid it's just going to be all 15-year-olds that are on there?
I haven't even thought about TikTok really.
I mean, it's such a huge platform, and I hate it myself, but whether it will last or not, it seems like it's a big one. I just didn't know if you guys had talked about branching out to something like that.
I know I've thought about it, but it's the question of how do you do that, and is it really worth the effort? And
right.
I mean, I know Facebook is not going to be around forever. We all thought MySpace was going to be around forever.
Sure. Yeah.
Technically, it's still there, but it's been a ghost town, presumably, for a while. And Facebook is maybe going that way. So, I mean, we may jump onto different platform as it is. We'll see.
And when it's necessary.
Yeah. I mean, I bought the domain name shitsatanicmemes.com, and so that's what we use to watermark everything. Okay. Right now, if you go there as a website, it just redirects to the Facebook. My thought was, in the future, if we do end up going with something else, I could at least redirect the website to do that and not have to change any of the watermarks.
Yeah, excellent. What about editing tools? What kind of editing tools are you just using phone apps, or using Photoshop, or all of the above?
I actually use my phone. I do that, I would say, actually 100% of the time. I just use phone apps. And I will download some just to try them out. They're all a little different. They all have different terminology and things like that. But I'll just get bored and I'll be in like a DMV scenario or something like that. And I'll just download an app and I'll just start playing around with it to see if I have apps that I keep just because it does one feature that the other app I use all the time doesn't. So I'll end up making a meme on one app and then save it and then upload it in the other app, add that feature, and then go back to the first one and, jump around that way.
Very good. Okay.
I'm usually using mobile apps myself. The one I use a lot is called Fonto, Phonto. It's an excellent font app for just getting a picture and then putting letters on it, adding all, the shading and all that stuff. For editing, I use one called ToolWiz, good mobile editing app. And in some cases where if it's like I have an idea of what I want and it's just too difficult to try to do it on my phone, I'll break down and I'll use the desktop, and I'll use like GIMP or a photo editor like that.
Gotcha. We've seen Dr. Schitz sign off with initials or nicknames. I know some people are being kept anonymous, but you want to tell us, is it just the two of you that are kind of outspoken on that?
Yeah. When I joined, Beelzebubs had the nickname Beelzebub, so I wanted to go have some nickname myself to sign off on. So I was using Satan Bear because Satan Bear is the mascot for my other podcast, The Devil's Mischief. And so when you see a comment and you may see it signed off Satan Bear or actually SB, that is me, I will admit now.
I've been wondering why we haven't seen Satan Bear show up in some memes.
Satan
that's
Bear
a good
himself,
point.
yeah, that's an idea. I guess he's underutilized. Maybe I should start using him again.
It's
But
been a
Mine
while.
is Baal Gag. I don't know how or why it popped in my head. I just went with Baal Gag, so I'm BG.
Gotcha. Okay.
a play on ball gag and Baal, of course.
Yeah.
So can we talk about how did Hits with Schitz start?
So the truth is, I really don't remember. So Hits with Schitz, I'm sure most of the listeners are familiar with now, is where we get these messages. Either I get them personally or at the Dr. Schitz page or wherever. People, usually from Nigeria, who want to go join the Illuminati. And lots of Satanists I know run into this. I got tired of trying to explain, like, we're not the Illuminati and no, we're not devil worshippers and you can't sell your soul and become a millionaire. So I just started responding to them with 80s pop lyrics. And where I got that idea from, I don't actually remember. I thought maybe I saw somebody do it in a blog article, or saw somebody do something similar, like responding to bots or trolls with song lyrics or something. Or maybe I was listening to a song at home and a line from that said, "Yeah, that sounds actually like a response I could give to somebody in this moment." And I remember somebody saying one time in the comments, like, "Oh, you should use black metal lyrics instead." And it's like, no, that's
really
dumb.
Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one of the reasons, well, first of all, like, most people, even most readers, wouldn't recognize black metal lyrics as lyrics. It looks like we're just blaspheming to them or something, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And what makes the choice of 80s pop funny is there's a certain association of, I don't want to say wholesomeness, but some kind of upbeat, it's something that is kind of the antithesis of what somebody expecting to join,
Sure.
an evil devil worshipping Illuminati group would expect.
The 80s was all about partying, so that makes sense.
And the fact that the person looking at the meme understands it, and the person I'm typing this to is absolutely clueless. That just adds to the comedy of it.
And I told you earlier that I wasn't familiar with the title of Hits with Schitz, but I mean, I've been watching you do that for quite a while now. So
it's some. I didn't start off calling it Hits with Schitz. Like, that line just came to me, and then so from that point afterwards, we always did the hashtag on it.
And what's weird is sometimes you'll pick, like, and I don't even remember if we used this song, but like, I just want to use your love tonight, and then the response they'll give is like really for it.
Yeah.
And we'll be like, whoa, wait a minute, like, like, man, like, they'll be like, okay, where can we meet? And I'm like, oh my God, look at these messages, or and they'll just take some of these lyrics and run with it in directions that I know that I'm willing to bet the musicians didn't think of it going that way.
On a somewhat related note, I just guest hosted 2 episodes of The Metro on Radio Free Satan, playing like 80s pop music. And now that I already finished them and played my own stuff, I'm thinking, wow, I could have filled like 2 episodes with just the songs we use for Hits with Schitz.
Yeah.
Like that maybe I can tell Reverend Jeff Ivins do that as a theme.
That'd be a great idea.
Songs featured from Hits with Schitz.
Pretty sure we have an album for it. So.
Have you thought of changing the Pepe the Frog picture?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought of it only because, like, I'm worried, okay, is that considered a dated thing now? Is that a 2010s thing? But the other thing is, like, if somebody's offended by that, they kind of deserve to be offended.
Yeah.
To me, Pepe is not a racist thing. A lot of people say, oh, it's racist, it's all right. He was always just, to me, like a general shitposting icon. Given how mainstream, political correctness is and how easy it is to offend people who are very itchy trigger finger on race issues and stuff like that, well, there's going to be a huge overlap with anti-political correctness and shitposting for sure. Beelzebub's designed that original image, and I mean, I think it still works well.
You are listening to Satansplain, real satanic talk with Church of Satan Magister Bill M. For questions, comments, and correspondence, send an email to bill@satansplain.com.
handmade, all-natural botanical perfumes, soaps, and ceremonial incense, sculptures and jewelry to adorn yourself and your other altars. All this and more await you at moonandsunemporium.com. Ritual perfumes and other occult fine art luxuries, created and curated by me, Priestess Sarah Josephine Clark, with tarot readings by Reverend Dr. Dylan Clark. moonandsunemporium.com.
In 1966, Anton LaVey created the Church of Satan, marking the beginning of the Age of Fire and Year One Anno Satanas. In 1969, he published the Satanic Bible, codifying Satanism as a religion, the first time it's been done in human history.
In the name of Satan, ruler of the earth, king of hell, come forth from the pit, bestow the blessings of hell upon us. For we are your children, and we invoke thee this night.
In 2001, I was appointed High Priest of the Church of Satan. In 2007, I published the Satanic Scriptures, further defining and expanding on Satanic philosophy and greater magic ritual.
Hail, Satan full of might! Hail, Satan full of might! Our allegiance is with thee! Our allegiance is with thee! Cursed are they! Cursed are they! The God adorers! The God adorers! And cursed are the worshippers! And cursed are the worshippers! Of the Nazarene eunuch! Of the Nazarene eunuch!
For the past 50 years, the Church of Satan has stood as the sole organization to define and defend Satanism as a religion. And though pretenders to the infernal throne have come and gone, we have stood the test of time and will into the future. Visit churchofsatan.com for more information and read the Satanic Bible and the Satanic Scriptures. Knowledge is the solution for ignorance. Hail, Satan!
Hail, Satan! Hail, Satan!
Some questions from regular listeners to the show. Starts off with one that asks, do you find it difficult keeping up with the ever-evolving meme trends on the internet, or is there something timeless about the Schitz formula?
I think it's actually easier because of that, especially with a lot of the apps that I use for templates. There's apps out there that just generate the meme template all in one place, rather. And there's buttons that'll actually highlight the newer ones. And because it's changing so fast that a meme you use today might be considered old in a short amount of time, and then it gives you a chance to go back, use it a second time in a completely different angle, and it won't seem stale.
Sure, especially if it's not like directed at a certain topic, hot topic.
Yeah. There's just so many we could use a ton of different ones over and over, and you won't even notice because there's so many new templates coming out.
Well, I find we do have to keep on top, and sometimes I don't even realize it with the actual style of like trending memes, because I'll look at something and think like, oh yeah, this would be great with Bad Luck Brian, that meme, but it's like, well, who does that anymore? That isn't that kind of like 20 years old at this point. So. I mean, I do get some inspiration looking at what other meme pages are doing, saying like, okay, like, you know, using this kind of thing is a little more in style, using the old white impact font on top of things. Like, that can look kind of dated unless you have something really good.
Sure.
So.
Okay. The next question says, has Dr. Schitz considered getting involved in any other projects besides memes, such as comical music, mini comic books, or other?
It's an idea. I mean, I myself do comedy outside of that, doing the Devil's Mischief or doing my own comedy. I've actually performed stand-up comedy at some local events and stuff, and I do certainly have other things. But under the Dr. Schitz name, no. But it is a great idea.
Is there a realm where these things can all kind of join together?
We'd have to think about it, because the other part is we live on two opposite ends of the country too. So in what way can we collaborate?
This question says, what's your most popular meme or the team favorite?
I think the first one that kind of went viral from what I remember was the Batman and Robin meme with Batman slapping Robin, where he's saying, "Why is it called Satanism if they don't believe in smack? It's a metaphor, you idiot. Read the book."
The other one that probably was the biggest was the Wheel of Fortune.
Oh yeah,
the Wheel of Fortune meme, and that one has actually gotten, and that one predates me. Bill made that before I joined, but that one has been used so many times that it inspired us to watermark them differently because it's been cropped and people have put like Carrie King from Slayer on it. And that is that Carrie King Wheel of Fortune meme that you see out there is 100% from Bill's creation from Schitz Satanic Memes. And that one has just gone all over the place.
Yeah, somebody took like these
royalties.
Yeah, well, somebody took the same exact styling I used and then just replaced the picture of Dr. Schitz that was on it with Carrie King, using the same like joke and punchline and everything.
Yeah, all they did was cover the frog.
Yeah, and crop out the watermark. So we were trying to get a little more creative on where we put the watermark so it's not so easy to crop out. But I think we even made a meme making fun of that because we caught some guy saying, "Oh, is this like your creation?" "Oh yeah, I created it," and we showed him the original. Like,
yeah,
you're a liar.
There was a guy who I forget what platform he used it on, but he flat out took it was actually a COS TST versus the Westboro Baptist Church meme, and he cropped out one of the names and put a different organization in which one it was. And so when we found that out, I took a picture of if you remember back in the 90s and 2000s, where the wrestlers would put their hands above their heads like a V and then throw it down at their crotch, doing the suck it gesture. So I took that and I just put Schitz all over it, just 48 different fonts, different sizes, and I'm like, crop that asshole.
Yeah. Though that meme, the one comparing Westboro Baptist Church in one column, Satanic Temple and Church of Satan, that one ended up being pretty popular, mainly because I've used it myself in a response to people when it comes up, and other people have used it. In the Church of Satan, people running the official Twitter channel have used that too in responses. So
yeah, and my personal favorite of all of those also predates me. It's the SpongeBob and Patrick meme explaining why it's not the no true Scotsman fallacy. So you'd have to look way back to find that one, but that's another of Bill's that he made that explains why we're not the same kind, quote unquote, of religion. That one I think I've personally used the most.
I think a personal favorite is the one I used Jason Voorhees in.
Oh yeah,
somebody's with a paint gun is aiming it.
The social justice warrior shaming them.
Yeah, social justice warrior, social shaming, and Jason, I just wrote Satanist on it. He just looks down at his chest, looks back up. And so just to make fun of the whole idea of trying to social shame as Satanist, which makes no sense.
Been there. This question, we kind of addressed this, I think, but the question is, do you run the memes by everyone else to see if it is of a particular standard, or are memes posted without peer review?
Yeah, so we did kind of answer that. We do our own, Jared and I do our own peer review, bouncing ideas off each other. So yeah.
And you have someone else involved. Is their level of involvement the same as the two of you?
No, right now it's just us two. As I said, there have been two other creators, at least to the page before.
Okay, so they're not. I recognize that one was no longer that originally started the page. I didn't know if the other one was no longer involved at all.
Yeah, she left. Mephistopheles, as she wishes to be called. She was making some really excellent memes, and that's why we recruited her. And we were a team of three, and we were working great for a while. But she just decided, okay, I want to get the hell out of Facebook. Gotcha. Sorry, but both of them, both Beelzebubs and Mephistopheles, have once in a great while sent us some stuff that we ended up using.
Excellent.
Just to go on that a little more, since it was a question that came up, we do bounce the ideas off of each other. there's like an unwritten rule that the tiebreaker usually goes to the one who came up with the idea first. But it was awesome when there was 3 of us, because then there would just be like a 2 versus 1. Like, I think we should do it this way. I think it's funnier that way. And I'm like, all right, that made it a lot simpler.
Mhm.
But yeah, just other little behind the scenes like that. If there's an idea out there and we like both of them, then we'll usually just yield to whoever came up with it and say, all right, it was yours. Which one do you want? Just little stuff like that.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Another thing regarding peer review is that it is not a flawless process, because I remember at least like one time where like the 3 of us looked at something and said like, yeah, it's good. And we pushed it out and there was a typo on it. And like none of us picked up on it. And
I forgot which one that was.
It was like we were using Thelema, and we missed a letter in Thelema or Thelemite or something like that.
Homa.
And
I could find it if I could find it, just because I remember what ended up happening is it had already been shared and had likes. And so we didn't want to take it down and repost it. There's a way to actually swap it out without it, becoming obvious. But what I ended up doing, because Bill and Mephistopheles memes was both busy at the time and I wasn't. So I ended up just putting the right spelling flat out on top of the other one and tried to like cover the background, but then make it so it didn't look like it. That was the hardest part, was tweaking it in there and then swapping it out before it shared too many times.
Mm. That's embarrassing, but I think like, well, we've made hundreds and hundreds of original memes. Like it was, I guess it's statistically inevitable we're gonna fuck up one.
Yeah.
My biggest fear, if we're going to talk about stuff like that real quick, my biggest fear, and I still have it to this day, is the moment I got admin status of Schitz, the save meme button is right next to the delete meme button. So if I go in there on Facebook and I want to save the meme to my, like, let's just say Bill makes it, so I want to save it to my phone just so I have it and use it. It is right next to the delete meme button. And I am terrified every time that I'm going to hit this thing and boop, it's gone. And so I'm just like,
sneeze when you hit the
5
mouse.
years and it hasn't gone away. Fortunately, I haven't done it yet, but it's been 5 years. I've been on the page 5 years. And every time I go to save a meme, because I don't want to screenshot it and change the dynamic or the ratio. So every time I hit those 3 little dots and pull up the menu, I look and I'm like, why did they put the save and delete button right next to each other?
I have to say that in many times I've seen other people's memes that I like the point, I want to share it, but they misspelled something, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. Sorry, I think I did it.
Yeah. When that sort of thing happens, if the idea itself is good enough, we'll be like, all right, maybe we should fix this and do it the right way. But if it depends on who did it. If it's a stranger, like none of us know him, then yeah, we'll go ahead and do it. But if it's someone we do know who's taking a stab at the meme world, I don't want to trample over, like, especially a friend's work. But at the other time, we'll be like, dang, I wish we'd have thought of
that. This question I very much agree with. Says, can we get T-shirts, please?
We have talked about opening some kind of merch store, Dr. Schitz T-shirts or whatever it is, stickers, phone cases. So hopefully we will launch something like that soon.
I definitely wear it.
I was thinking
I think it'll be fun too, because just logos. Now we'll get, earlier the question was, have we thought about taking on any other projects? And finding out what images we can make that would translate to like a coffee mug or something like that. Maybe it'll be a meme, but maybe we'll have to change our style and do a more visual joke and less wordy. We're pretty pithy as it is right now, but I mean, for a coffee mug, you definitely don't want to have more than a sentence or 2. Yeah. So it'll be an interesting challenge to see what we can do with that.
Very cool. I think everyone looks forward to seeing that. Next question is, what is the theoretical picture of a good meme?
As you pointed out, there is an art, I think, to meme making, and a lot of it comes down to the comedy of it. And so, as with like a lot of jokes, sometimes the most effective ones are just really simple. I'm trying not to be over wordy, because when you get too wordy, it's no longer a meme. It's starting to read like a speech, and so trying to distill it. And we go back and forth in that all the time. It's like, how about like this is kind of wordy, maybe use this word instead, or reword it or swap these sentences.
And the other part is when you change the word, when you change one word out because it is getting too wordy, it will adjust the alignment of the entire caption. And now you have to go and reword it. Like say you had 5 words and then the second space was like 4 words, but one of them was physically bigger and it was even from left to right. But then you remove that word and now you have to just redo the entire thing. And then you have to change the size. Does it still look right? Does it hit the same? And then there's a lot of thought process that goes in behind that part.
Yeah, we are not going to like Image Flip or one of those free sites and just typing things in, put text on the top and bottom. Like, no, we take a little more pride in it there. But you know,
physically do move all the fonts, into place.
But also with the meme, like we got to make sure that it makes sense, because sometimes we'll think this is a really good template and this is over it, but it's like, does that really fit in with that? Because usually this kind of meme is more about that. Maybe if this is more of a dilemma, we should be using the red button dilemma meme, the guy with the 2 buttons in front and he's sweating. Maybe that would work better, or those are the sorts of things that we go back and forth on.
Yeah.
So to keep it ideal, to find the ideal meme, I guess, would be when the idea and the template already line up before we even start. So for example, if we want to show how 2 things are the same, like you just mentioned with the red button meme or the blue button and the guy that's got his fingers out, if the idea and the template click before we even start typing the words, that I would say is probably the ideal start at least. But as far as the ideal meme itself, I guess I would just say it's one that gets a lot of reactions and shares and that people enjoy.
I think it's worth pointing out for people who maybe don't know so much about it, and certainly in recognizing, Bill, your background in, I mean, I know enough about you to know how involved you are with comedy, your love of comedy, and there is a science to it. And what stand-up comedians do, there's a lot of science to it that maybe the average person just thinks you just say something funny, and it doesn't necessarily work that way. And with a meme, there's not even the inflection of your voice. It's everything has to do with the picture lining up perfectly, and you guys are quite masterful with putting those together.
Yeah, well, thank you.
This last question I have from a listener is, what is the funniest reaction you have gotten out of a pseudo Satanist? And I asked sort of the same thing as far as like, how many times did they not realize that the joke is about them?
Well,
oh man.
Well, that last part has happened. Usually when a reaction is really that bad, we sometimes make a meme out of that. I'm trying to think of a good example. There was somebody a while back where we made some meme referencing Buddhism, and it might have been making fun of the people who call themselves Satanic Buddhists. It's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Okay.
It was.
There was the guy who I think we said something like the 9 satanic statements are incompatible with the 4 noble truths of Buddhism. And that's just the truth. They are fundamentally dissimilar and contradict each other. And there was a guy who said, like, you idiots, there are only 3 noble truths of Buddhism. And I should know because I have a degree in religion studies from blah, blah, blah. No, it's 4. And like we went to like Wikipedia where like the title is The 4 Noble Truths of Buddhism. And here's a book of the same title, and screenshot that. And we put that underneath.
There was another one, a guy responded. I want to say it was the same meme, but he was the one that replied by pointing out that he was a Jewish Satanist. And so we ended up taking his comment and we screenshot it without editing a single thing. And that's when we put the menorah and threw an inverted, pentagram on it. And
menorah with black candles.
Yeah. And it just, I mean, we didn't have, that meme wrote itself. We just screenshot exactly what he said. And all we had to do is put it into position and then, all right, this one's going up tomorrow.
Yeah. And of course, there were still a couple of idiots who didn't get the joke. Like, well, what do you mean? Can't you be Jewish and a Satanist? Well, ethnically, sure. But Judaism as a religion and Satanism? No, that doesn't work.
So just one last question. Memes are a big thing. A lot of people are trying to make them themselves. You got to imagine that people are sort of looking up to what you guys do. If somebody was new at starting memes and they were seeking your advice on how to make a good meme, what would be the advice you would give them?
The first things I notice when other people make memes is they don't use the stroke or shadow feature. So what that means is stroke is the border. I don't know why they don't just call it border, but a lot of the apps will call it stroke. And so shadow will actually spin off, and it looks exactly like it sounds. It'll make a shadow that cascades to one side. So what'll end up happening is they'll use like a white background and then this faded yellow text, and it bleeds into the background, and you have to squint. It almost hurts your eyes. So if you're going to make a meme, use the stroke, thin it down, don't make it bold, because if you make it too thick, it ends up looking like a 5-year-old wrote it with markers. And yes, I know that because that's how I started making them. So if you go back and look at my first memes, they're terrible. That would probably be my first advice: is make sure that the font pops. If
So
you can't,
aesthetics.
if it's a difficult thing to read, I don't want to read it.
Yeah.
Going back to some of the things I said about what is making a good meme, there is something to be said about the brevity being, the simplicity of it. I think as like with any skill, it's something that's an ongoing process, because I look at some things I made 8 or 10 years ago outside of Dr. Schitz, and I'm like, ugh, this is bad. What was I thinking? Or this looks like I made it in MS Paint, because I probably did make it in Microsoft Paint and didn't add any outline to the text, and it kind of goes over, just looks pretty terrible. So, but I mean, there are great tools out there. Like I said, Fonto is really great for adding text to a picture, and look at the memes that you like, whether it's from us or somewhere else, and think, okay, what is it that I like about this, and do I have an idea I can really convey, or how can I best word this joke?
And make sure you understand it. Make sure you understand the topic well enough to actually explain it. And the old saying, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it. So if you can't get the wording down small enough to let the picture do the work for you, maybe you need to make sure are you making this meme to teach yourself or to make other people laugh? So keep it simple, make sure you understand it, and then just consider all angles. And that doesn't even have to apply to a satanic meme, whatever it is you're talking about.
Strictly speaking, a meme is a repeated template. Strictly speaking, like, not every picture with text on it is a meme per se. Like, not everything we do is memes. It could be a screenshot or something else. But when you see, for example, like the Willy Wonka picture and Gene Wilder there with his fist under his face, the condescending look, like, that's a meme. So there's a repeating theme with that. And if you do find like a meme like that, you kind of have to know, okay, what is the repeating joke? What's the expected, template that we're using with that? Because if you put something else on top, it's like a lot of people might not understand. A great website I use, and I even sometimes link in the comments of Dr. Schitz, is knowyourmeme.com. And so if you see some kind of repeating meme that's like popular, there's usually a page on that site about it, going into like the history and what's the meaning of this, where does it come from, who is this person in the picture, and so on.
There's also an app called Meme Generator, and I use that one to find the memes. It's the one I mentioned earlier that has a button that only shows new. But one of the cool features about that app is it has an example button. So you can pick any template in there and just hit example, and it will actually pre-make the meme for you. And you can hit example again, and it'll give you a different randomized version. But what that does is it helps you figure out how the meme is intended to be used. Now, the text feature on that one I think is terrible. So I usually, whenever I do that, I actually just clear out the meme and I save it completely blank, and then I go use Fonto and put the words in myself. Because the border and the shadows on that, it just looks terrible. But the app is great for, one, finding new memes, and two, seeing how they're supposed to work.
Very good.
Another really simple thing, but it's something that has changed a lot, is the aspect ratio of your meme picture. It seems like, especially with Instagram and just as a general standard, it seems memes are best as a square, in equal length and width, because otherwise we've seen some ones what we made that were big and like too tall, and like the punchline got cropped off in previews. It's frustrating. But they're always changing. Social media has constantly changed on like how it displays pictures and whether it crops things or shrinks things. And we've always been trying to keep up with that. But I think these days it's kind of stabilized. Like, okay, square is safe.
Yeah.
So we tried doing that. It can be a little difficult when things might have to be a little longer or, taller, wider than usual. But
and think outside the box. That's the big one. Take your meme, look at it, and then do something
outside the
crazy
box, but
like
keep it in the square.
yeah, exactly. Actually, that's exactly right. Because I'll make a meme and I'll throw it Bill's way, and he'll kind of zoom out to get it into like a 4:3 ratio, and then all of a sudden it will create more space, or it'll appear differently, and it actually comes out looking better because all we did was change the aspect ratio, and it'll look a little different. So sometimes, literally, think outside of the box that you've created. Zoom out, change the ratio, or zoom in even, and you can actually give a meme a whole different breath of life.
Good. All right. Well, I think on behalf of several thousand fans, I'd like to thank you both for just doing an excellent job. I always tell people that the only reason I'm on Facebook is to advertise or for the memes. To me, it's just a place to laugh. So you guys are big contributors to that, and I appreciate what you do, and I know that a lot of people out there also do. So thank you, Magister Bill M. and Reverend Jared Mammon. Really appreciate letting me come on the show and talk with you guys about this.
Thanks for hosting, and thanks to all of the Dr. Schitz fans out there who support the page and like what we do.
That's right.
Thank you.
And just remember, philosophy, it's meme against the world. It's terrible. Sorry. All right. Thank you, guys.
You have been listening to Satansplain. For more information about the show, visit the official website at satansplain.com. And for more information on Satanism itself, visit churchofsatan.com. This episode is copyright 2024, Magister Bill M.